Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to do a quick review of Lesson 3 for the blue team that was home doing remote work, and we're going to do a quick intro on Lesson 4 for the silver team who's going to be at home during the Lesson 4. So as a quick review for Lesson 3, we really discussed one primary article written by Eliot Cohen, and the objectives for that lesson were really to understand the difference between soft power and hard power. Soft power being the elements of the dime construct, diplomacy, our influence, and the economic policy that we have as a nation, contrasted with the M, which is really our military. Military force, the threat of violence. So the difference primarily is one is use of violence and force, and the others are soft in that capacity and don't have that kind of element. The other objective was really to recognize Eliot Cohen's 5 primary arguments that people generally make against the use of soft power in a capacity that transcends kind of a self-defense thing for a nation. Nobody really disputes that we need a self-defense military, but some argue that the military is not well suited for sustaining operations elsewhere or for influence nations to do other things, the things that we want them to do overseas. So those primary arguments really are lifted over my left-hand shoulders, and we really focused in class, for those of you that were in class today, we focused on understanding the crux of the arguments that people generally make. In doing so, in understanding those arguments, I think we can then better understand the contrary positions that can poke holes in that argument and really do lead us to a conclusion that the military is required at some points. Again, those primary arguments are over my left-hand shoulder. Number 1, that the world's becoming more peaceful. I believe we counter that effectively. Number 2, that the nation states all are led by rational actors. We disputed that as well. Thirdly, we talked about how we can use soft power mechanisms instead of the military and still achieve the same effects, but without all the violence and human suffering. Of course, we disputed that in class as well. The fourth argument being American incompetence in using the military in this capacity and the number of mistakes that our nation has made over time, and that's evidence that we should not use hard power because we simply aren't capable of doing it well. Of course, we offered the contrary opinion to that as well. And then finally, that domestic issues should be addressed first, that we as a nation have domestic issues on the home front that we should be focusing our time and treasure into instead of pursuing efforts overseas. And we talked about how those are not mutually exclusive, and we countered that as well. So your objective is really to understand those arguments such that when you get to a position throughout the semester, you'll be able to hearken back and recognize that when the other things fail, diplomacy, economic policy, and our good-naturedness as Americans, sometimes the military is required. So those for the blue team that missed the class on Tuesday. Okay, for Thursday, what we'll be launching into is Chapter 4. For those of you that have the textbook, I would urge you not to use the textbook. I've actually posted this reading on Blackboard. It's only a few pages by Dr. Mike Fowler. He's a faculty member here. And we're really going to be talking about the methods of influence and the continuum of operations when we do bring the military to bear, knowing that it's necessary at times, how we influence the adversary to do what we want them to do. And again, there's extreme ways to do it, from an extermination perspective all the way to like just a subversive way to do it. And that's listed in the continuum. So we need to understand kind of the methods of influence: persuasion, deterrence, assurance, and oh shucks, I'm drawing a blank, guys. Persuasion, deterrence, assurance. I feel like it starts with a P. I gotta check my notes. Compellence, of course, compellence. So how we cause adversaries to do what we want them to do. So we're going to talk through those influence methods, and then we're going to talk about when we really do have to compel a nation to do something, causing action on their behalf, how we do that. And that's kind of the continuum of conflict. So we'll talk through those things. So come to class, have read your stuff, be prepared for it, and we'll look forward to seeing the silver team in class, or I'm sorry, the blue team in class on Thursday. And I am trying to make every effort to engage in the discussion boards. I will put some comments in there, and thank you for the good work so far. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the help.